My friends, close your eyes for a second and imagine the sound of a lawnmower. That's right, that rhythmic metallic noise you hear on a Saturday morning in your neighbor's yard. Now picture that sound up in the sky in the middle of a cold night in Kyiv or Kherson. For a Ukrainian, that buzzing isn't gardening, it's the sound of absolute terror. It's the Shahed 136, the Iranian-designed drone that Russia has renamed Jiran 2. All of this is to try to erase the fingerprints of the crime. And while you're watching this briefing, a mother in Ukraine has exactly 3 seconds. That's how long it takes the brain to process the buzzing and decide where to hide the children before the impact. 3 seconds between the continuation of life and total erasure. The media guarantees it. They spend hours talking about summit diplomacy, but what's happening on the ground is a genetic mutation of war. The board is no longer about who has more bodies to throw into the mud or who has more Soviet-era tanks in storage. The game now is about who has the best programming code. The thesis is straightforward. The 19th century brute force strategy that Putin is trying to force down the world's throat has just collapsed in the face of a scalpel of light. Ukraine stopped trying to beat mass with mass. They decided to beat mass with algorithmic intelligence, and this changes the architecture of global defense for the next 3 decades. Before we reveal the technology that's frying Russian circuits in real time, I want your technical analysis down below. Do you believe that technological precision can really nullify the sheer number of soldiers, heavy equipment, and cheap weapons? Write in the comments, does technology win or do sheer numbers win? I read every line because this is where we separate the observers from the elite analysts. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and like the video. It takes a lot of work to bring this to you, my friends. To understand the scale of disruption that the Trident system represents, you need to decode Moscow's plan. Putin is waging trench warfare that looks like a grim remake of 1914. Is it the concept of the meat grinder? He throws thousands of men and low-cost equipment to the front line, hoping that the West will suffer financial fatigue. Is it an economic trap based on a perverse mathematical disparity? Think about the numbers. For almost 4 years, Ukraine was forced into an impossible choice. To shoot down a Shahed drone that cost between $20,000 and $50,000, Kyiv had to fire a Patriot PAC-3 missile. A Patriot is a technological marvel that costs between $3 and $5 million per unit. If you follow me here, you already know that. If they tried to use something simpler, like the German Iris-T, the cost would still be $430,000 per shot. If they used the NASAM system, the price would jump to $1 million or $1.5 million. In practice, it's like using a Rolex watch to hammer in a rusty nail. You might even manage to hammer it in, but you'll break the watch and the nail is still just a cheap piece of metal. Russia bet that this equation would never add up. Russia sent wave after wave of saturation attacks. 50, 80, 100 drones per night, 1,000 drones per month, with a single goal: to exhaust the stocks of expensive missiles. If Ukraine doesn't shoot down the drone, it destroys a power substation that costs millions. If it does shoot it down, it spends $5 million to destroy something worth $20,000. It was a dead end, a financial suffocation that ground down Ukraine's defense capability with every buzz in the sky. "Here comes the lawnmower!" they shouted. Putin believed that time was on his side. He was counting on the exhaustion of the American and European taxpayer. He was also counting on the friendship of Donald Trump. He thought that the logistics of resupplying sophisticated missiles would collapse before his assembly line of crude drones. But history shows that necessity is the mother of disruption. It was while the Kremlin was looking at tactics of Stalin's mass tactics, the Ukrainian defense industry looked to high-energy physics. The grinder encountered an obstacle that can't be overcome with flesh and iron. Now join me in Operation Trident. The Ukrainian company Celebritech didn't just develop a weapon, they created an entire system. The system is called Trident or Tri-Zub. It is the spear that's piercing the hull of the Russian strategy of exhaustion. The Trident doesn't use gunpowder. It doesn't rely on complex supply chains of infrared-guided or active radar-guided missiles. It uses a high-powered laser integrated with artificial intelligence for target acquisition. The science here is surgical and lethal. The laser can pierce the armor of a drone from more than 4 kilometers away. Tactical demonstration footage shows the beam cutting through metal and electronic components in just 3 or 4 seconds of continuous exposure. Unlike an interceptor missile that makes noise, leaves smoke trails, and alerts the enemy's electronic warfare system that it's coming, the laser is invisible death. It's silent, it travels at the speed of light, and the real turning point here, it only costs the price of the electricity needed to generate the beam. Maybe you already know that. We're talking about cents per shot against $5 million missiles, and is there something you still don't know? Trident's AI is the brain that solves the 3-second equation. It identifies the target through integrated radar and high-resolution optical sensors. It locks, aims, and keeps the beam on the exact spot of the drone's structure, usually on the control surface or optical systems, until it disintegrates in the air. The system was validated in tests against targets ranging from 17 to 33 centimeters, that's millimeter precision from kilometers away. It fries the electronic circuits before the drone can even start any evasive maneuvers. Is this the end of the window of agony? AI does what no human operator could under the stress of a saturation attack: react with absolute precision in microseconds without hesitation. The light scalpel cut the power cable of the meat grinder. Remember the math? When the $20,000 drone was on the winning side of the war economy? The Trident destroyed that logic. Now the Russian drone has become the absurdly expensive side of the equation. But why, you ask me? Because Ukraine now spends almost nothing to neutralize an asset that costs $20,000 and months of production for Russia. That's what we call a technological checkmate. If Russia can no longer destroy Ukrainian infrastructure using low-cost vectors, Putin's war of attrition strategy no longer makes sense. He can't sustain a war where his attack is thousands of times more expensive than the opponent's defense. The mathematics of war, which for centuries favored those with more mass, now protects those with more applied intelligence and brute force. And for you who follow me here every day, the connection is clear. Ukraine is following the path of Israeli strategic intelligence. It's the same concept as Iron Man. It's Israel's Maginot. The world has realized that interceptor missiles are analog solutions to digital problems. Light is the new gold standard for point defense. Do you see it? The United States already has its own system. Israel also has its own system, using it against Iran and sharing it with its Arab allies. And Ukraine has also launched its own death ray. Russia tried to upgrade to the Garand 3, the jet variant, faster and harder to intercept by conventional anti-aircraft machine guns. But for an AI-controlled laser, the speed of the drone is irrelevant when compared to the speed of light, and this isn't just fiction. So, my friends, this is being applied on the battlefield, tested in real time. Because when technology removes the economic viability of the aggressor, the conflict changes in nature. Putin now faces an existential dilemma: to keep burning resources in a system that has been hacked by light, or to admit that brute force has lost its relevance. And here's some news for you who follow me every day. Look, Putin is begging for God's sake for Zelensky to stop fighting. Comment below, do you think Zelensky should hand over the territories that Putin wants, or should he keep defending Ukraine and wearing down Putin's meat grinder? What would you do if you could press the button? Comment here. Well, the resilience of the Ukrainian people, who under constant bombardment created the future of global defense, is proof that history does not forgive those who try to rule tomorrow with the tools of the past century. The defense system not only reacted, it evolved to a level where Russia's sheer mass becomes irrelevant. The verdict is inevitable, my friends. Brute force is losing to algorithmic precision. Putin's meat grinder has been stopped by Ukraine's scalpel of light. What we're seeing is not just a dispute over territory, it's a battle of paradigms. The future of sovereignty now depends on capability, processing power, yes, my friends, and energy efficiency. Having chips to process the data and energy to feed the beast, it's possible to win saturation warfare. Modern warfare no longer depends only on the amount of gunpowder stocked. And then a question arises. Is this technology the definitive turning point for the end of conflict? My friends, the world is changing before our eyes. And here we record every step of this change, the technology, the war strategy, everything translated directly so you can also understand what's happening in the world. And if you want to understand the technical details, the intelligence documents, the geopolitical connections that the algorithm tries to hide from you, our briefing continues now on our exclusive platform. There, free from any censorship, we are more than 3,000 subscribers discussing what really matters across countries in the corridors of power. QR Code na tela. The links are in the first pinned comment and in the description. That's where we go in depth. That we often can't share here. With just a stroke of a pen, our channel could be taken down. And for those who are looking for real culture without indoctrination and you like this video, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, check out our channel about series and movies. Content tips that respect your intelligence and your values. It's our safe cultural shortcut. Is it hard work to decode the future for you? So if you want to get ahead of the crowd, here it is. The channel is on the card, in the pinned link, and in the comments. There are series and movies that talk exactly about the moment we're living in the Middle East, in Iran, Israel, the United States. It seems like cinema has already predicted everything. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like. Share our briefing with your friends. The world needs to know that light has overcome the shadows. Now shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.